I don't know about each of you, but I've been so distracted by the political happenings of late that I sort of lost my place in the calendar. Although I'm half retired, so I'm allowed to not know what day it is all the time. So let me get us oriented. Today is Sunday, March 2nd. The Oscars happened tonight. Meteorological spring started yesterday. Ramadan, the Muslim holy month, began last night. Mardi Gras is this Tuesday, so the Christian holy month of Lent begins on Wednesday. Next Sunday, we move our clocks back an hour, and we hold a potluck after the service. 2 Sundays from now is the Southside Irish Parade, and our church service will take place only via Zoom, because nobody can get here if they live on the other side of Western Avenue. Our days are getting longer and warmer now, and the vernal equinox will occur on March 20th, marking the first day of astronomical spring. So, are we better located in time and place now? All of these events, and many others that we notice, are regular occurrences at this time of year. Most of the times we reserve for special observations are somehow linked to the seasons, to the annual cycle that follows the Earth's passage around the sun. One way we know time is by following the seasons. Christmas and other winter holidays are festivals of light to help us get through the time of darkness and cold around the winter solstice. Vacations, beaches, and swimming are summer diversions. You all know this stuff. We all live in the cycle of seasons, except for maybe Mike and Lenore, who seem to have found a way to skip winter. But that's a different story. I personally am quite attuned to seasonality. During the year when I turned 21, I took a year off from schooling and traveled around the country in a refitted school bus with a group of friends. I had ants in my pants, and I sought to know places and experiences that I felt were missing from my all too well-ordered life. Like it was the early 1970s and stuff was happening. And I lost my place. I had never seen real mountains. I'd never been to California. And in the early 1970s, a young guy had to go to California. But we had to learn a little money to start. And so we spent the winter months living in Sarasota, Florida, taking jobs. I had no idea how much missing the winter season would mess up my sense of how things should be. It's hard to explain, but I am a denizen of these higher latitudes, and my psyche requires seasons. So come late March, we got into our bus, left Florida, and rode up to Colorado to spend several weeks in the mountains, experiencing what remained of the cold and the snow. And it helped. Or it helped me at least. Something in my mind said check, and I could then move gracefully towards springtime. Our lives and how we organize them follow seasons, cycles, mostly based on the Earth year. We have the school year, the church year, the tax year. They all have beginnings and endings. Sports fans follow time differently. They have baseball season, football season, and then basketball season. And if they're from Chicago, they're always waiting for next year and the next season when things might improve. This circularity of cycling seasons is nothing new. It is the way things are, the way things always have been. In earlier years, long ago, almost all time was understood as being cyclical, because seasonal change was how we understood our environment and adapted to its demands. It is said, I don't know whether this is true or not, that it was the Jews who introduced a new idea, that of ongoing linearity of time, that time is going somewhere and not just turning in circles. Most cultures devised origin stories to say where things started, but the idea of the end of time seems to have come with monotheism. And so we started counting years and keeping calendars. The passage of years now matters much more than it once did. Linear time is useful for tracking lifetimes and for organizing histories and for describing the long-term development and progress, I say in quotes, of the human enterprise. Two main processes seem to move in one direction only: animal evolution and the growth of knowledge. For both of these, there's no such thing as going backwards. The start of the future is where we are today, and the future depends only on what transpires from now forward. In knowledge, new discoveries move us forward. In evolution, mutations that survive drive change. And in both cases, we can't regress. But almost everything else we experience and the ecological basis of life on our planet, they rely on processes that are cyclical, processes that allocate and balance resources that have somehow evolved to maintain a high balance that allows life to thrive and continue. Consider the miraculous symmetry of plant photosynthesis and animal respiration. Plant life requires carbon dioxide, so they can convert the energy from the sun and store it as sugars for growth and survival. Oxygen is released as a byproduct of this process. At the same time, animals breathe this oxygen that is produced by photosynthesis as fuel and produce CO2 as a waste byproduct. This reciprocity between plant and animal has always worked. My breath and the plant's breath are exchanges in balance, and there has always been a sufficiency in this give and take relationship. The economies of nature are grounded in circularity, where materials flow in cycles, and there is no such thing as waste. Can you think of waste in a wilderness? I can't. Everything gets regenerated and life continues to flourish. Almost all production by plants is redistributed, passed among food webs, feeding other lives, and eventually, if not used otherwise, used to build the soil again. Water, fresh water, is another thing that all life requires, and that those of us living by Lake Michigan might think of as an unlimited resource. But this crucial resource is finite. We will never have more than we do now, as it cycles endlessly around and through the earth. It's purified by the soil, taken up by trees and plants, returned to the sky, formed into clouds, and falls back to earth as the rain that makes the flowers bloom and the streams run full. Too little water and we parch, too much and we drown. But the miracle of this cycle is that it usually produces, as a gift to all of us, pretty much just the right amount of water, and it produces it for free. All of these natural cycles work together in ways that allow life on Earth to flourish. And life on Earth has adapted to use the resources gifted to us by these cycles. Human economy, in contrast, has become wasteful and damaging. We extract raw resources without replacement, we pollute, we defile, and we produce massive amounts of wasted goods. We have learned to treat our planet as a vast warehouse of seemingly unlimited resources, and only now are learning that these resources do have limits and that balances can become upset. We would do far better if we internalized the need for reciprocity and replacement as part of our role, if we would take responsibility to limit any harms caused by our actions. Circles and cycles also play an important role in our imagery and understanding of human activity. Circles, in many forms, concentric circles, spirals, labyrinths, many other things, are common elements of much primitive art around the world. Cave paintings and rock carvings all often feature the circle, and it variously is assumed to represent things as diverse as nature, the sun, the spirit, and probably anything else those people cared about. And circle metaphors are spread across our human activity. The Buddhists imagine a wheel of reincarnation, seeing existence as a cycle of life, death, rebirth, and suffering. The early Unitarian Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote an essay titled Circles, and it started like this. The I is the first circle. The horizon which it forms is the second, and throughout nature this primary figure is repeated without end. We learn the truth that around every circle another can be drawn, that there is no end in nature, but every end is a beginning, that there is always another dawn rising. That was Emerson. And circles are often used to convey the set of things that are relevant and apparent to a person, such as your circle of influence or your circle of concern. Black Elk, the Lakota elder, describes, I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell, and I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in the sacred manner the shape of all things of the Spirit, and the shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that make one circle, wide as daylight and starlight. And in the middle grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And I saw that it was holy. Circle imagery abounds in song. Just off the top of my head, can the circle be unbroken? Or draw the circle wide, wider still. Or, and I'm not going to try to sing this, but the circle of life from the Lion King. That's why I don't sing up here. Circles are about inclusion. They contain whatever falls within the bound, and they're extensible, as Emerson told us. Bigger circles can include the first circle and so much more. Cycles are about recurrence, regularity, and mutual reciprocity. What goes around comes around. These are natural and organic ideas. Circularity is initially all about inclusion, but that is just a formal statement of what belongs. What is most important is what relationships are melded among those included within the circle. In human terms, we tend to picture a circle where the residents are our people, our family, our friends, those we care about, much like Black Elk's hoop. The way to improve human connection, interconnection, and to build interdependence is through expanding these circles of care and concern. As we draw the circle wide, our in-group is extended and we grow closer to more persons. Growing our circle is the path to reducing the we versus they, or the insider-outsider problem. Everybody can become us, at least in theory. Circling is a spiritual experience and an opportunity and invitation to create relations built on respect and integrity. Magic can happen when the encircled group becomes a unified whole, a community, a foundation for love and trust among the many. And following cycles is an invitation to engage with all the diversity and interdependence of life forms, as well as with the needed gifts that are produced for us. Ecologically, we can enter the flow of processes that become the earthly mosaic of resources and gifts. These cycles are real. We know that matter is neither created nor destroyed, but that it is recycled and repurposed through its existence. We indeed are made from the stuff of stars, however it happened to move and morph to become a part of us. Our place in the circle of life involves choices, and we should be wise to nurture the way we engage, how we take our place. Circles, lines with no end, infinitely leading to one place, except the places are never quite the same. Following Heraclitus, no person ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and they are not the same person. Or T.S. Eliot, we shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time. Amen. Blessed be. We now will join in singing hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle. Please rise if you're willing and able.